Testing, 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 testing.
For the question? All right. So this is a question my committee told me not to answer anymore, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How can City Council not do a runoff election if it was in the charter that the Pueblo people voted on?
That was some Palace Kush, which was sold $100 ounces at 719. So I think 719, I don't know if it's a new shop, but they've been pushing $100 ounces out the door. It's like $81 plus $18 and some change for tax, but they've configured it to where if you have $100, you walk into 719, you walk out with an ounce. And that Palace Kush, it has a THC rate of 27%. 27% THC. So that's incredible. Palace Kush, 719, Pueblo, Colorado. So I want you to listen to this clip first. This clip is an audio clip of the first Postmodern Mayors Forum.
So, my judgment, my opinion is that they have to have a runoff election. That's what the people voted on. Nobody in the first election in November gets the majority, and 30 days later, the charter says, there should be a runoff among the top two candidates. The system they're talking about now, I don't think accomplishes that because it's possible that somebody other than, and I don't think the city council is talking about it, but the system that the county clerk is talking about would allow somebody who wasn't one of the top two to perhaps win the election. There's lots of studies have been done about this system, and if we discuss it more, you'll find out more about it. But my judgment is that they have to have a runoff because that's what the people voted for. Now, whether it's going to be 30 days after the election or sometime in January, I guess really doesn't make any difference, but they will have to have a runoff election between the top two.
The Pueblo is having a mayoral's race. There's actually a whole bunch of races. There's state houses, there's House of Representatives, there's the governor's race, there's a lot of executive positions, treasurer and the Secretary of State, and there's also the county election. So there's 64 counties. So this is actually a major, the city had their elections last year. The main thing that they're voting for right now, which is huge, is the mayoral election.
I just want to disagree with him. I think that we can do a ranked election, honestly. I think we've had a chance to create the ballot. I feel like, honestly, the 45 days for our veterans to be able to get in their absentee ballots is important. I think a ranked election allows for everybody to be participating. And I'll be honest, ranked elections favor the non-insiders, okay? Now, obviously, there's going to be some people that sit on city council that don't want a ranked election. And I will warn you, ranked elections is what brings the people out, somebody that will represent their mayor.
So the mayoral election seems a little premature, but the longer that you talk about it, the more that you prepare, the better that something will be. So I am happy about these discussions, these conversations. There's going to be like 3 or 4 more coming up. It was in the Riles room, 4th floor, Riles, Rawlings Library, the main library. And this is some Lincoln Douglas shit. This is some Lincoln Douglas debate shit. These are conversations that are going to live on in infamy, and I'm glad that Gradisar is actually doing all these because he adds the most legitimacy. He's the architect. He's the one that has created this new system which overhauls the complete, the city manager system. And the charter is based on the city manager system, so basically everybody's going to be eating out of Nick Gradisar's hand anyways in terms of what does this mean, what does that mean, how do you interpret now? So he's got a job for life since that mayor thing had passed illegally, in my opinion. But if I get my way, the mayor is going to go on regardless. If I get my way, the mayor will be revolutionary and it will be consolidated as a revolutionary change forever and ever. We're going to gut the charter convention requirement. Never again are we going to have charter conventions. Okay, so we're going to change the entire government by ballot initiatives now from here on out, forever and ever. So I actually want some legs underneath the mayor. So we're building a house on sand. I want some strong foundation, nice strong steel beams.
Woo! I also just want to add to that it would cost the city another $100,000 to run off. And I do think that the top two will be the ones with the most money and the most popular, and I don't think that should be the case, because this is a very critical job, and a lot of it is influence, and if you don't get the right person in, a lot's at stake. If you look at the new charter, you will see how much power that mayor will wield, and you need somebody in there who is really going to work for the people.
So I want you to listen to this clip. This clip has to do with whether or not we're going to have a French-style runoff election. Everybody, 20 people run for mayor. The top 2 people out of those, if nobody gets a majority, then the top 2 goes on to the next one. Now, instant runoff voting is the exact same thing, but instead of having a whole nother election another day, you have a whole nother election right then and there. And in fact, you could have 5 elections. You could have pick the top 5, okay? If that's the kind of runoff, you could have 5 runoff elections in an instant. That's why it's called instant runoff voting. So take a listen to this clip, and then I'll learn you about what the hell they just said.
Thanks, I'll make it quick. The ranking system, I am in favor of. We owe it to our veterans. Everyone get a chance to go home at night, sleep at night, because our veterans are in the sandbox, in the mountains, in the snow, freezing, eating MREs, and so forth. We owe that to them. Veterans are coming back with no legs, no eyes, amputees, purple heart, silver stars, and so forth. We owe that to our veterans. We can wait.
Yeah. So Nick Gradisar, he's saying this is his judgment, his opinion, but his his judgment holds much gravitas, right? He's the author of the 70 Changes 10-page amendment called Strong Mayor. So he's going to gut the charter and not throw it out. We're going to, gut the hell out of it and rewrite 70 different things to the charter. And what he believes that he wrote and the people had voted on was that you must have a runoff election.
Just a couple of things in terms of the transition from mayor to from the council form of government to mayor. I have a master's degree in public administration. My undergraduate degree was in industrial engineering. There are probably 2 other people in the city government that have master's degree in public administration. I can actually run a city. In terms of bringing people to Pueblo, I'm working on a softball complex. That'll bring in $10 million worth of economic activity with softball tournaments bringing in from all over the state and all over the Southwest. And as far as the election is concerned, I'm not in favor of a ranked choice. My personal opinion doesn't have to do with the city council. I don't know what the other people are thinking, but I think I was a veteran, and when I was out of the country, I wanted to vote. This is going to, I want to give veterans an opportunity to choose who they want to be their mayor.
That's what they voted on out of the 70 changes. This was one of the many changes that was tucked into it, including 6-4, so complete immunity for the police. The police, not only for the police, but the firefighters, and even just, the assistant deputy information technology officer, even him, even the street sweeper, they can injure you if it's doing the course of their duties, and they got complete immunity, Section 6-4. So that was one of many secrets tucked into Strong Mayor. More secrets, this other one is he's saying that the law states that you must have a runoff election. Now, this goes to a controversy because the county clerk, Bo Ortiz, who is the current county clerk, and these are all Democrats, too. And, for some reason, Gradisar is not for democracy. He's an old-time Democrat who's very, stuck with the two-party system. He likes the entrenched two-party system, and he's not in favor of democracy. He's also not in favor of the troops. So Bo Ortiz points out that it's illegal to have a runoff election in 30 days because the troops need at least 45 days in order to get their absentee ballots. So if we don't do ranked choice voting, if we do a runoff election in 30 days, we're breaking Colorado law. And so you can't, say, well, one law breaks another law and then adjudicate this thing in court. It's going to come down to, I think Bo Ortiz could just do it himself. Now, they might know some judges and get some court orders in order to bully Bo Ortiz, but when I sued them, because they didn't have a charter convention, they changed the whole government, when I sued them, the Kagabsek, the city lawyer, he pinned it all on Bo Ortiz. He says that he's just an opinion guy. And then the city council people, they just vote for stuff. And they voted for the county clerk to put the ballot initiative on the ballot. And because Bo Ortiz is the one who wrote the strong mayor ballot question, he's the one who actually committed the crime. This is Dan Kagabsek. He throws Bo Ortiz under the bus. He throws everybody under the bus, even the city council. He says that he's not responsible for any of them. The charter says they have the power, so he's just like an advisor. His opinion really means nothing. He'll say something, and if you believe him, then that's good for you. If you don't, well, go fuck yourself. Who gives a shit, right? So even though he cracked this whole thing and did the main meeting on it, and then it was a unanimous thing, and there was no opposition to, anyways. So they put it on Bo Ortiz. They said, Bo Ortiz, you're the one that wrote the ballot initiative. You're the one that actually broke the law. The crime happened, according to Dan Kagabsek, if there is a crime, when Bo Ortiz put the ballot question on the ballot and printed it up and then passed it to everybody. That was the crime. Bo Ortiz committed the crime. So if the city is going to try to put it all on Bo Ortiz, it would seem to me what I think Bo Ortiz should just do, because this is historic, revolutionary, this is progressive, and this is legendary. This is going to be epic. The city of Pueblo almost has this incredible fair and democratic system for winner-take-all presidential elections. Currently, the third parties and independents don't stand a chance to the two-party corrupt establishment. Instant runoff voting gives independents a chance. Instant runoff voting also guarantees a majority winner, not just a plurality. This strong mayor ballot initiative was passed with 18% of the voting public. Most of the people who are able to vote in Pueblo City did not vote, so 65% stayed home. Out of 30% or so, 35%, 18% of those folks voted for a strong mayor. 18% is not a majority. So we need to have 50% plus 1 to have democratic legitimacy. So that would guarantee, instant runoff voting would guarantee a majority winner. We would get a mayor who the majority of the people of Pueblo approve of and agree on. It'll be more fair for independents, and it gives the people more power. It gives the people more power. You have choices now. Instead of just saying, who do you want for mayor, and just pick 1 out of 13, now you get to pick 5. And I think the Puebloan people can figure out the top 5. Can you figure out top 5? So the top 5, there's 13 candidates right now who have signed an intent to run for mayor, an affidavit. They'll have to get 100 signatures in August, so there's not even primaries. This election doesn't even happen until November 6th, 2018. Anyways, but it should just be 1 election. We shouldn't have 2 elections. We should have instant runoff voting. Another thing instant runoff voting does is it makes us get along with each other, since the first past the post winner-take-all elections means you pick 1 candidate and you disparage everybody else, right? I'm going to vote for Hillary, and everybody else who don't vote for Hillary is stupid. That's the American voter. You pick 1 horse and you shit on everybody else. Well, that doesn't create a civil conversation. Basically, you pick your horse and then you just be dicks to everybody else who disagrees with you. As if, like, what? Hillary was going to be the savior? She's Jesus Christ incarnate, and she's going to, what, bring fucking ponies for everybody? No, she's not. She'll bomb the shit out of everybody. We're guaranteed that. So because our system is winner-take-all and we don't have instant runoff voting, we are essentially forced to have these horrible arguments, and it divides us with ranked choice voting. Okay, I'm going to vote for Jill Stein, my number 1 vote. But my number 2 vote, maybe I'll vote for Hillary. Maybe I'll vote for Donald. Now you got to be civil to me. Now we got to talk, because you do want my number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 votes. So top 5. It gives the people more power. It's fair for independents. It guarantees a majority winner. And it also helps the Puebloan people have a civil conversation, a discourse amongst each other. You know, if you don't respect politics, people have political acumen, right? They're going to bring 5,000 voters to the plate. Well, that means they got some political power. You're going to have to listen to what they say. And you can, you know, say you're not going to. All right, you can run against them. But I think it's very divisive, and it's, you know, that's risky. It's risky. So what did Gradisar say? So Gradisar essentially just stated his position that he felt before. Gradisar has even suggested that Pueblo City Council run their own election and fuck the county elections, which is accurate, that City Council can run their own elections. We have home rule authority. Of course City Council could do it, but that city clerk's office down, they can't do that. They've never ran a damn election in their lives. They haven't ran an election for decades. They don't have the machines. They don't have the money. They don't have the personnel, the people. They wouldn't know how to do it. But I think that they could if they wanted to, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. But since they haven't, the county has been running these elections the entire time. They contract out to the county. These are two different municipalities, two jurisdictions between the county and the city. So the city has contracted the county during the general election, says, hey, when you're passing out your ballots, why don't you go ahead and add one question for our city elections, and then those election ballots are passed out to the people who dwell in the city. So what Gradisar is saying, Gradisar says that essentially he shouldn't even be talking about this because this is controversial, but his opinion is he's going to couch it in law, but he's saying that we must have a runoff election because that's what the people voted for, even if it breaks the 45-day rule for veterans in 30 days. And he even said, well, maybe in January. Okay, 30 days is what the law stated. So what did Strong Mayor say? The Strong Mayor Ballot Initiative says that we must have a runoff election November 6th, and then 30 days later, December 6th, we're going to have the second election. So according to Strong Mayor, we are going to have two entirely separate elections for mayor. So the first one is, 20 people or so run, and then the top two of those run in the second election. So just like the French presidential elections, so this is a French-style election that Nick Gradisar is pushing for. Now, and he essentially says that. That's what the people voted for, so it's his judgment, his opinion, that there has to be a runoff. There has to be a runoff between the top two candidates. That's what they voted for, whether it's in 30 days, whether it's in January. There must be one runoff election, for the top two candidates, just like they did in Aspen. Now, Aspen fucked it up, but Basalt and Telluride, these are two cities in Colorado that has implemented them successfully. So has San Francisco, so has Oakland, so has Minneapolis, so has St. Paul. And many cities, the Czech Republic, Australia, lots of countries, the president of India is elected by instant runoff voting. The Oscars, the best picture selection for the Oscars is run by instant runoff voting. There's some science fiction, the Hugo Awards. So it's all over. The world is flirting with instant runoff voting, but it's the fairest, best goddamn democratic system that you could have for winner-take-all presidential elections. We could talk about parliamentary elections. I like presidential elections because they are decisive. Once the people chose one path, then the winners can govern as they like. And so there's leadership, and they lead, and it's more decisive. So I personally like presidential elections better than parliamentary elections. The problem with presidential elections is that they don't favor third parties and independents, and they're very much entrenched in the two-party duopoly, which is basically we're a two-party dictatorship. We're only one party away from a complete totalitarian dictatorship. So when the two parties agree on something, such as war, bombing Syria, that is something that is guaranteed to happen because there's nobody to oppose. So immediately after Gradisar says that we must have a runoff election, he says fuck ranked choice, fuck instant runoff voting. He wants a French-style runoff election. Jackie Macy comes out strong against him. Now they're going to change all the rules to having all these rebuttals, but I'm glad they actually did have rebuttals. Jackie Macy says he disagrees with Gradisar. He believes that we can have ranked elections. He thinks that it would create a balance of 45 days. He wants veterans to have their chance to vote. To get their absentee ballot is important. That's the reason why that's in Colorado state law. Jackie Macy also said that ranked elections allows everybody to be able to participate. so that encourages independents to get in there. And he also says that ranked elections favors the non-insiders. So I want an outsider, but I want them to have some government experience so that I feel comfortable that they know what the fuck they're doing. So the fact that the ranked choice voting would favor the outsiders, favor the independents, favor the individuals, that would bring about the best candidate. Instead of just choosing the Republican or the Democrat, it would be the best person. That's how nonpartisan elections should work. But unfortunately, this nonpartisan election is going to dwell in the top two candidates, and who do you think those top two candidates are going to be? It's going to be your top Republican and your top Democrat. It's nonpartisan election, right? Nobody says who their party is, but watch, mark my words, Jonathan Masters is declaring 3:35 p.m., April 24th, 2018, that the top two candidates, if it allows to go with the runoff election, we don't go historic, we don't go legendary, we don't go epic. Future generations of Pueblo people will thank us for giving them a fair electoral system with instant runoff voting, preferential voting, a.k.a. ranked choice voting, but with a simple French-style election. It's a little bit interesting, it's a little bit different, but it sucks, and it has a whole nother election. The instant runoff voting has 5 instantaneous runoff elections. So instead of having 2 elections over a month, we have 5 instantaneous. It's cheaper, it's better, it's more choices. A million reasons why we should do ranked elections, but it's epic, and it would be awesome. It would be incredible. So Jackie Macy immediately says that he is in favor of ranked elections, and he says, of course, the establishment, the people who sit on the city council, don't want ranked elections because ranked elections will get the people to come out. You want people to actually vote. You want to have a greater turnout, then you would be in favor of ranked elections because that would be more popular. If the people knew exactly what ranked choice elections are and what a runoff election or French-style runoff election, they would definitely pick ranked elections. They have greater power, more choices, and it's just a better system. It actually gives independents a chance, so it's better for democracy. And those good ideas, you need independents and third parties in there to get some good ideas. The two parties go stagnant, so they got to, the good ideas got to come from someplace. Janet Wilson follows up and says that $100,000 is what it's going to cost for a whole nother election, so we're going to have to spend another $100,000. Gary Clark jumps in, and he wants to make a quick point about the veterans, and he says he's in favor of the ranking system because we owe it to our veterans who go out for our protection, to go out at night, to sleep at night in the same box in the snow, freezing, eating MREs and so forth. We owe that to them, to give them a fair democratic election, especially the ones who come back with no legs, no eyes, amputees, purple hearts, and so forth. We owe that to our veterans, and we absolutely do. Larry Atencio says that he's opposed to ranked choice. He's an establishment insider. He's the one that voted for strong mayors, so you could actually probably say that Steve Noraki, Larry Atencio, Loy Winter, and Nick Gradisar all pushed for strong mayors so they could become the mayor. Of course, their ambitions were part of the decision to push for this thing. They wanted to be the man. They wanted to get the gauntlet. They wanted to be the dictator. They wanted to be Gilgamesh. And they wanted to have all the power. So that exchange happened at the first postmodern debate, the postmodern mayor's debate. So there's been 21 mayors beforehand. So in the early history of Pueblo, from 1870 to 1911, we had 21 mayors here, including B.B. Brown, who had 200 indictments, including John T. West, who was the last one, 1911. He was also one of the non-consecutive terms. We've had 23 mayoral regimes. So they were 2 non-consecutive races. It started 1870 is when James Rice was with the trustees. 1873 is when he became the mayor. So James Rice was part of the trustee system, which Pueblo City had for about 2 to 3 years. And then 1873, on the 3rd year, you had the city, which came back in fulfillment of the scriptures. So the mayor had about 1-year term mayors. So between 1873 to 1911, there were 21 mayors. 21 mayors in a span of 40 years. So that's about 1 mayor per every 2 years. So it was volatile. There was a lot of turnover. 21 mayors within 41 years. So the B.B. Brown, the corruption. So after 1911, they finally said, we need a charter. They wrote the Home Rule City Historic. This is actually embedded in Colorado's Constitution. One quick point, the city of Pueblo was established before Colorado. Colorado was established in 1876. The city of Pueblo was established in 1870. So the city of Pueblo established itself before the city of Colorado. In 1911, they got rid of the mayoral system. So we've had 5 different systems so far. We had the trustee system for 2 years. We had the mayoral system for 41 years. Then we had the commissioner system from 1911 to 1950. The same thing as the county. The commissioner system was 3 commissioners and changed to 5 2 years later. The 3 commissioners are the executive and so they wrote the laws and executed them in conjunction, in tandem with one another, where there was not a division of power with the commissioner system from 1911 to 1950. 1950, they changed the whole government, and this is actually an important point for what's going to happen regardless, okay? So let's say Jonathan Masters isn't here to read the Puebloan Charter to make sure we get a charter convention. Let's say I wasn't here to do it. I think we're going to have a charter convention anyway, because that's what history tells us. In 1950, the city of Pueblo eventually voted themselves to get a 14-member alderman's city council. So they expanded it from 5 commissioners to 14 aldermen, which is like city council and a city manager. So in 1950 is when they got the city manager. They didn't change the charter, but they substantially changed the system of government. So in 1950, the city of Pueblo substantially changes their government, but they don't change the charter. Because of that, there's so much confusion, and so nobody's on the same damn page. In 1954, the city of Pueblo says, well, God damn it, we need to fucking rewrite this shit. And they rewrote the charter and got themselves 1954 charter. So there's been 2 home rule charters for the city of Pueblo, 1911, 1954. The 1954 charter is the charter that we are currently operating under. But since last year with the strong mayor, there's been 70 changes, and I'm not for sure which one of those changes they've implemented, which ones they haven't implemented. But because the charter was written for a city manager slash city council kind of government, for a city manager government. And since it was written for a city manager government, we're going to a mayor government. All they did was they took city manager and they deleted it and they replaced it with mayor. So essentially they dissolved the city manager, they called it the mayor, and now it's popularly elected. So those are the major changes, but there's 70 changes, including something about the golf department or some shit. So a bunch of tiny little changes. It's like, why? What was that about? Why? Who? You know, there's definitely some politics going on behind that decision, right? The aviation department. So the aviation department has a lot more power now. I don't know why we gave the aviation department any more power. I don't know what the hell that was about, but that was part of strong mayor too. So the 1950, if we look at history, if history is to be our guide, because we haven't changed the charter, but we have a mayor system now. The original charter was for the city manager, and it says you can't change the city manager government unless you have a charter convention. We haven't had a charter convention, but we did change the city manager. There is no city manager. Now it's a mayor. So the confusion is going to be set, and it's going to be obvious, and it's going to, you know, within 4 years, we're going to have a brand new charter anyways. Whether we do it by convention or whether we do it by ballot initiative, we're going to have to rewrite the damn charter anyway. So I propose that we do it the right way, right now, right? Get some steel foundation underneath this skyscraper, because building a skyscraper on sand, the shit's going to fall down. And so that's what that exchange was all about. Gradisar is pushing for the runoff election. Instant runoff voting is what I am in favor of. And if we get instant runoff voting, I don't know. Maybe I'll be, because I kind of like the idea of having ballot initiatives changing the entire government. It's so much easier. Having a charter convention is so damn hard. Nobody understands it, and it's writing the fucking rules to the entire game. It's changing, old-style chess into Bobby Fischer chess. But we all got to agree on the new rules in order for the new rules to have any kind of effect whatsoever. So yeah, if the Pueblo, the 1950s Pueblo is to be our guide, there's going to be confusion now. There's going to be a new mayor. In 4 years anyways, you're going to get a charter, a brand new charter. So I'm saying let's get a damn charter right now. Let's get a new charter now. I asked Gradisar about this, and he actually gives the same explanation, Pandora's box, opening a can of worms. So by having a charter convention, that means you could rewrite the whole thing. Exactly. Exactly. Let's rewrite the whole thing and write it fairly. The shit that's working, keep those rules. The shit that's not working, change those. That's precisely what we need if we're going to change our government to do it legally in accordance with the Constitution, with the 1954 Pueblo Charter, which we haven't done. And Nick Gradisar says he's not going to do, if he becomes mayor, he is not going to push for a charter convention. He says the union people don't want it, and he already got his government changes, right? So he's going to eat for the rest of his life being the advisor. Hey, what the hell did you change over here, Nick Gradisar? He's going to make a shit ton of money just answering those questions. So, of course, he doesn't really want to rewrite the charter. He's the only one that's read partially this charter and partially the changes that he's made. But what happens when Gradisar contradicts the charter? Well, I guess we have to go with Gradisar, right? Because we're all about tyranny. We don't believe in the rule of law, the three branches of government. Nobody believes in the constitutional republic. Am I the only one who believes in the Constitution around here?
It's very good. Well, one assurance would be this here. I personally will call the Safeway headquarters. This week, I personally called the Department of Education, Mr. Jerry Mahan.
About getting the community store over there. Yeah, it is a rule. I thought I had a minute in response to that.
Just to make it clear, I apologize if you used the rule.
And I don't think the city council